Genius or madman? A plane crashed right into their backyard. Calvin, a brilliant but somewhat paranoid scientist, thought nuclear war had begun. He immediately took his pregnant wife, Helen, down into an underground fallout shelter, and they ended up staying there for 35 years. Back in the early 1960s, the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union made nuclear war seem imminent. Calvin had planned ahead. Secretly, he built an enormous fallout shelter beneath his house, even bigger than the house itself. It had enough supplies to last 35 years. When Calvin saw President Kennedy announce the Cuban Missile bases were complete, he felt justified. Helen, his gentle wife, thought this whole thing was strange, but for the sake of their unborn child, she didn't dare take any risks. One day, overwhelmed by stress, she went into early labor. A healthy baby boy was born. They named him Adam. They thought they might be the last humans alive. The shelter had everything they could need: a television, a record player, even a Christmas tree. They even built a small fish pond. They grew vegetables in a temperature-controlled greenhouse. Helen shopped for groceries right there in their stocked pantry. 5 years quickly passed. Above ground, the rubble of Calvin's house was cleared away. Unable to reach the Webbers, the government sold their property. Soon, an ice cream shop was built on the site. During construction, workers discovered the steel plating above the shelter. Thinking it was an old septic tank, they built directly over it. Calvin assumed strange creatures were now roaming the surface. Eventually, the ice cream shop opened, run by Mike and his mother. Meanwhile, underground, Calvin and Helen raised Adam like any ordinary parents. They gave Adam the best education possible: physics, mathematics, German, French. They even taught him boxing, dancing, and skating. Calvin gave Adam his prized baseball card collection and stock certificates. Meanwhile, the ice cream shop upstairs wasn't doing well, so it turned into a bar. Mike became increasingly depressed. Time flew by, and Adam celebrated his 35th birthday. Helen carefully baked him a birthday cake. Adam's wish was simple: to find a girlfriend. Helen gave him a jacket she'd sewn herself. Calvin gave Adam a pair of specially modified roller skates. That day, the countdown finally ended. The fallout shelter door opened at last. Their 35-year life underground was finally over. Calvin and Helen cheered with joy. They danced around like kids. Helen couldn't wait to go outside. She was nearly sick from the boredom of underground life, but Calvin still didn't trust the outside world.
We wait for night.
Oh, shit. They had never taught Adam any rude words, so when he heard shit, they quickly told him it was a 16th century French word meaning roughly good.
Well, shit.
For safety, Calvin decided to go up first. The bar above had already gone out of business. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A crack opened at the shelter's exit. Wearing a hazmat suit, Calvin stepped onto the surface. Mike saw him and thought it was God.
I come in peace.
He fainted on the spot. Calvin walked through the city streets. The neighborhood he once knew was long gone. Everything looked strange and unfamiliar. Homeless people were digging through trash cans. Thugs were waving guns and scaring strangers. Terrified, Calvin rushed back underground. He told Helen and Adam everything he had seen. He believed the radiation had mutated people. Now they were eating garbage and driving weird machines. He suggested they stay underground longer, until the mutants finished killing each other off. But Helen strongly disagreed. She was tired of living without sunlight. She didn't want Adam to grow old underground. The argument got heated. Suddenly, Calvin collapsed from a heart attack. He fell onto the table, groaning in pain. Helen had no choice but to stay behind and care for him, so she asked Adam to go above ground and buy supplies they were running out of. After all, they had only stocked enough for 35 years. Adam carefully wrote down a shopping list. Helen gave him all the money they had saved. She hoped it would still be usable in the world above. Adam was excited. He dreamed of meeting a girl he liked. Before he left, Calvin gave him one last piece of advice. If he found a healthy young woman, he should bring her back down. Adam took the elevator up to the surface. Mike thought it was another sign from God. He dropped to his knees and kept bowing to Adam. He began repenting for wasting his life.
Can you forgive me for my wasted life? Everything has been so awful.
It has been terrible.
Adam nervously opened the door to the outside world. He stepped out onto the street, shaking with excitement. It was the first time he had ever seen the sky. Everything around him felt fresh and new. A man passing by asked what he was staring at. Adam smiled and shook hands with people, saying hello. Everyone looked confused by his strange behavior. Adam took a bus to the supermarket. He planned to buy some beef, but when he asked for the price, he was shocked to learn everything was much more expensive now. The money his mother gave him wasn't nearly enough. He decided to head back and tell her. But once he got on the bus, he realized he didn't know the way home. As more and more passengers got off, Adam decided to take a chance and get off too. Wandering around, he stumbled upon a baseball card shop. Adam figured he could trade his dad's old baseball cards for some cash. Those cards were over 35 years old and now extremely rare. The shop owner saw Adam had no idea how valuable they were. He offered to buy the whole lot for $500. Adam thought he was getting a great deal, But the store clerk, Eve, was watching. She stepped in and told Adam the truth. "This one mantle card is worth $6,000 all by its itty-bitty self," she said. The owner, furious that Eve had ruined his scam, fired her on the spot. Eve had already had enough of his nonsense and left without hesitation. Adam could tell Eve was a kind person. With nowhere to go, he followed her. He offered her a baseball card worth $4,000 if she could help him find a place to sleep. That offer tempted Eve, who had just lost her job. She drove Adam to a nearby hotel. Before he could even thank her, she had driven off in a hurry. She thought something was a little off about Adam. At the front desk, Adam checked in. The hotel staff showed him to his room. It was his first night ever spent outside his shelter. He started to miss his parents. When he opened the curtains, he jumped in surprise. He had never seen a building so tall. The next morning, Eve returned. She gave the card back to Adam. She said she couldn't accept something so valuable just for giving someone a ride to a hotel. Adam admired Eve's honesty. He asked her to help him sell the rest of the cards and also shop for the supplies he needed for the shelter. With a $1,000 a week offer, Eve finally agreed. Soon, they had sold all the baseball cards. With plenty of money now, Adam bought a truckload of supplies. He always opened the door for Eve like a true gentleman. Before meals, he would hold her hands and say grace. Eve started to see him in a new light. After finishing their shopping, Adam asked if Eve could help him find a girlfriend. Adam went home with Eve. Eve lived with her best friend, Troy. Troy thought Adam might be from some kind of secret organization. He had so many valuable assets to cash in. Clearly, he was planning something big. Meanwhile, Helen accidentally wandered up to the surface. The strange modern world made her think radiation was still everywhere. Mike saw her and believed the Virgin Mary had appeared. He gathered a group of homeless people to worship her wildly. Helen was terrified. She rushed back to the shelter in a panic. Troy took Adam shopping for modern clothes. Adam also bought a pair of roller skates he had always dreamed of. They went to the park together. Adam was as happy as a little kid. He shouted with joy as he splashed in the seawater. It was the first time he had ever seen the ocean. To him, everything was beautiful. When it rained, he just sat in the rain, enjoying the cool drops on his skin. Eve worried he might catch a cold, so she ran over and held an umbrella over his head. To help Adam meet girls, Eve and Troy brought him to a bar. There were lots of single women here. They were sure he could find someone he liked. Soon, a girl approached Adam and started chatting. Seeing how well they got along, Eve suddenly felt jealous for no reason. She pulled Adam away quickly and started teaching him how to flirt with women. She expected him to mess up in front of girls, but his charm and humor actually impressed them. As retro music played, Adam stepped onto the dance floor. His amazing dance moves instantly made him the star of the night. Two dance partners were clearly smitten with him. Eve couldn't take it anymore. She left the bar angrily. When Troy got home, Eve was already waiting at the door. Troy could tell Eve had feelings for Adam.
I do not fall in love with weirdos who I've only known for 4 or 5 days.
Yes, you do.
Pee in their pants when they see the ocean.
Yes, you do.
And I don't fall in love with grown men who collect baseball cards.
Yes, you do.
His words opened Eve's eyes. Without realizing it, she had already fallen for Adam. When she found out Adam had gone home with the dance partner, she exploded in anger. She stormed out, determined to get him back. But just as she got into her car, Adam suddenly came back on his own. Startled, she screamed and fell to the ground. Adam gently helped her up and treated her wound. His kindness made Eve's heart melt again. She asked Adam, "Did you go to Sophie's?" Adam replied, "Yes, because Sophie is hospitable." But then he quickly added, "It just wasn't where I wanted to be, so I left." Adam confessed his feelings to Eve. He told her he was drawn to her from the very first moment. He hoped they could be together. Eve finally stopped running away from her feelings. The two of them slowly grew closer. Adam shared the truth about his past. He said he wanted to take Eve back to the shelter to meet his parents.
In 1962, when the bomb was dropped on Los Angeles, my parents were in our fallout shelter. That's where I was born.
Eve didn't believe him at all. She started to think Adam might be mentally unstable, so she told him to go back to the hotel and rest. Adam accidentally discovered the location of the shelter. He rushed inside and found Mike. Mike saw him and passed out. Again, Adam ran to find Eve, excited to share the good news. But Eve had brought a psychiatrist with her. They thought Adam was mentally ill. They planned to take him away for treatment. Adam pretended to cooperate on the outside. But just as he was about to get in the car, he suddenly ran off and escaped. Eve and Troy rushed to the hotel. Adam's luggage was still there. In the bathroom, Eve found Adam's toothpaste, and it was made in 1961. Troy opened a box and found some old stock certificates. They were also purchased 35 years ago. Troy called a stockbroker. Turns out the stocks were now worth millions. When Eve realized Adam was a millionaire, she was relieved that she had fallen for him before she knew he was rich. Everything Adam had said was true. Eve decided she had to go find him. Meanwhile, with help from Mike and the homeless guys, Adam managed to move all the supplies into the shelter. They remembered Adam had once gotten out in front of an adult bookstore. Maybe the shelter was right underneath it. They walked into the store and started stomping around, jumping up and down, trying to find the spot. People stared at them like they were crazy.
Do you have a basement?
Believe me, all the really good stuff is right up front.
They found nothing. Eve was about to give up, but fate wasn't done with them yet. On the way back, they ran into each other again. Eve couldn't hold it in anymore. She ran up and threw her arms around him. Adam brought Eve back to the shelter. His parents were thrilled. Helen brought Eve into the kitchen to cook. Calvin sat Adam down and gave him some very awkward, man-to-man advice. Later, Adam and Eve cashed in some of the stocks and baseball cards. They started investing and building their own businesses. They even built a big house in the countryside. Adam became a true millionaire. Once everything settled down, Adam moved his parents out of the shelter and into the new house. He wanted to give them time to slowly adjust to the outside world before telling them the truth, that the nuclear war had never happened. Helen was overjoyed, but Calvin still had doubts. What if the war starts now? He asked. As Helen admired the beautiful garden, Calvin was already out in the yard, measuring things in secret. He was planning to build an even bigger underground fallout shelter.